The American Revolution was a pivotal moment in the history of the United States. It was a time when the American colonies fought for their independence from Great Britain. The war lasted for 8 long years, from 1775 to 1783, and it was a time of great struggle and sacrifice. But it was also a time of hope and determination as the colonists fought for their freedom and their right to self-governance. In this video, we will explore the American Revolution and the events that led up to it. We will examine the causes of the war, the key players involved, and the major battles that were fought. We will also look at the impact of the war on the United States and the world. The American Revolution was not just a war between two nations. It was a fight for freedom, a struggle for the right to govern oneself, and a battle for the ideals of democracy and equality. It was a time when ordinary people became heroes, and when the course of history was changed forever. So join us as we journey back in time to the American Revolution and discover the story of a nation's fight for freedom. The American Revolution did not happen overnight. It was the result of years of tension and conflict between the American colonies and Great Britain. There were many factors that contributed to the outbreak of war, including political, economic, and social issues. One of the main causes of the American Revolution was the issue of taxation without representation. The British government had imposed a series of taxes on the colonies, including the Stamp Act, the Townshend Act, and the Tea Act. These taxes were seen as unfair by the colonists, who believed that they should have a say in how they were governed. Another factor that contributed to the outbreak of war was the issue of British control over the colonies. The British government had passed a series of laws, known as the Navigation Acts, that restricted trade between the colonies and other countries. This made it difficult for the colonies to prosper economically, and it also limited their ability to govern themselves. The American colonists also resented the presence of British troops in their cities and towns. The British government had stationed soldiers in the colonies to enforce their laws and maintain order. This was seen as a violation of the colonists' rights, and it led to tensions between the two sides. Finally, the American Revolution was fueled by a growing sense of nationalism and a desire for independence. The colonists had developed a unique identity and culture, and they believed that they should have the right to govern themselves. They were inspired by the ideals of democracy and freedom, and they were willing to fight for these principles. So, the American Revolution was not just a war over taxes or trade. It was a struggle for the fundamental rights of the American people. It was a fight for freedom, for democracy, and for the right to self-governance. In the next segment, we will explore the key players in the American Revolution and the roles they played in the fight for independence. The American Revolution was a complex and multifaceted conflict involving many different people and groups. There were political leaders, military commanders, and ordinary citizens who all played a role in the fight for independence. One of the most important figures in the American Revolution was George Washington. Washington was a military commander who led the Continental Army to victory over the British. He was also a political leader who helped to shape the new government of the United States. Another key player in the American Revolution was Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was a political leader who helped to draft the Declaration of Independence, which declared the colonies' independence from Great Britain. He was also a strong advocate for democracy and individual rights. Benjamin Franklin was another important figure in the American Revolution. Franklin was a diplomat who helped to secure foreign support for the American cause. He was also a scientist and inventor who made many important contributions to the fields of electricity and physics. Other important figures in the American Revolution included John Adams, who helped to negotiate the Treaty of Paris that ended the war, and Paul Revere, who famously warned the colonists of the British advance. But the American Revolution was not just a story of famous leaders and heroes. It was also a story of ordinary people who fought for their freedom and their rights. Farmers, merchants, and tradespeople all played a role in the war effort, contributing their time, money, and resources to the cause. In the next segment, we will explore the major battles of the American Revolution and the impact they had on the course of the war. The American Revolution was a long and difficult war, with many battles fought on both sides. These battles were often brutal and deadly, and they had a significant impact on the outcome of the war. One of the first major battles of the American Revolution was the Battle of Bunker Hill. This battle was fought in June 1775, and it was a significant victory for the American forces. Although the British ultimately won the battle, they suffered heavy losses, and the American forces gained confidence and momentum. Another important battle of the American Revolution was the Battle of Saratoga. This battle was fought in October 1777, and it was a major turning point in the war. The American forces, led by General Horatio Gates, defeated a British army under the command of General John Burgoyne. This victory convinced the French to enter the war on the side of the Americans, and it helped to secure the ultimate victory for the American forces. The Battle of Yorktown was another key battle of the American Revolution. This battle was fought in September 1781, and it was the last major battle of the war. The American forces, led by General George Washington, and the French forces, led by General Comte de Rochambeau, defeated a British army under the command of General Charles Cornwallis. This victory effectively ended the war and secured the independence of the United States. But the American Revolution was not just a story of major battles and victories. It was also a story of guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and espionage. The American forces used a variety of tactics to fight the British, including hit-and-run attacks, ambushes, and sabotage of British supply lines. The American Revolution was a long and difficult war, but it was ultimately a victory for the American forces. It was a testament to the courage, determination, and resilience of the American people, and it laid the foundation for the United States to become a world power. In the final segment, we will explore the impact of the American Revolution on the United States and the world. The American Revolution was a pivotal moment in the history of the United States. It was a time of great change and transformation as the American colonies fought for their independence and their right to self-governance. But the impact of the American Revolution was not just limited to the United States. It had a profound impact on the world as a whole. One of the most significant impacts of the American Revolution was the spread of democratic ideals and principles. The American Revolution was a revolution of the people, by the people, and for the people. It was a rejection of the idea of monarchy and aristocracy, and a celebration of the principles of democracy and equality. The American Revolution also had a significant impact on the global balance of power. The defeat of Great Britain by the American forces weakened the British Empire and paved the way for the rise of the United States as a world power. The American Revolution also had a profound impact on the institution of slavery. Although slavery was not abolished in the United States until many years later, the American Revolution helped to lay the groundwork for the eventual abolition of slavery. The principles of freedom and equality that were championed during the American Revolution would eventually lead to the end of slavery in the United States and around the world. Finally, the American Revolution had a lasting impact on the culture and identity of the United States. The American Revolution helped to shape the American identity and the American character. It instilled in the American people a sense of pride, determination, and resilience that would define the nation for generations to come. So, the American Revolution was not just a war for independence. It was a transformational moment in the history of the world. It was a time of great change and progress, and it laid the foundation for the United States to become a beacon of freedom and democracy for the rest of the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the American Revolution. We hope that you have gained a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history, and that you have been inspired by the courage, determination, and resilience of the American people.